saw a guitar. You brought a guitar to Kramer to try to pitch them to build electric
How
guitars.
do you know about that?
I've got sources. I'm everywhere, Paul. Hold on, because I want to get into this.
Go on.
You said to come out swinging.
Okay, go on.
Originally, this was your plan. Your plan originally was to produce guitars for other manufacturers.
That's
that was
correct.
the idea.
Yeah.
You were going to sell this shape. The idea was to sell this shape to another manufacturer.
License it, yeah.
Was that the idea?
That was the idea. And you got to remember, at that time, Kramer was one of the largest guitar companies in the world, and the Floyd Rose Tremolo was their thing. So I had to make the prototype that they would consider with a Floyd on it. I went to Ovation. I went to Yamaha. I went to almost everybody and said, do you want to do this? And one guy says to me, I like the tuning pegs, the self-locking pegs. You'll do well with that. I said, that's not what I'm after, right? And so we ended up having to do it ourselves. I was kind of stunned. I thought, we had a good thing. I had Carlos Santana and Al Di Meola and Howard Leese as endorsers. I thought what was interesting, of all things, Al Di Meola was trying to help me. He would call Yamaha, or he'd call this company or that company and said, I think you need to pay attention to what's going on here.
But you have said in interviews, I've heard you say this a lot, that you felt like everybody was rejecting you. Is that what you reference?
Well, I didn't get accepted at Yamaha at the time. I didn't get accepted by Kramer. They made it fair. The offers were either non-existent or pretty weak. I wanted to make a living. If I was going to make enough money to put my kids into college and make a living, I was willing to work hard. I had no problem with that. But the idea of building a factory seemed daunting.
So your original plan was just to go work for a guitar manufacturer. You really didn't think...
Or make a licensing deal and teach them, yeah.
You didn't think you were going to start your own company. That wasn't part of the plan.
You're the only one to ask me this question. This was in Musician Magazine a long time ago. And I don't know how you dug this article up. I don't know how you got the people from... There's one of the people from Kramer still in our industry all the time. You could have talked to Andy. I mean, where'd you get this from?
So did you...
Let me come out swinging. Where'd you get this from?
I have the best research team in the business, Paul. Let me
that's
tell you.
not an answer.
But
how did you come up with this?
I'll tell you at the end. I'll tell you at the end.
Tell me now, or I'll shut up and I won't say another word. You want to play chicken?
I've got a guy in the building, Paul. Somebody told me to ask about this.
Okay. Now that's more fair of an answer. All right, go to the next thing. I'm going to get out of you at the end.
So you flew over to Kramer with a guitar.
You have the best research people in the business. You don't know anything about the group of research people I have here. You can't claim victory over my people. That's not the way it works.
But I'm just trying to understand.
I'm sorry. Eric's really good at this stuff.
To me, though...
I've been down every rabbit hole.
To me, though, I'm just trying to understand how you got here. So your original plan was... Yeah.
I've never really answered this before, but I will for you because you really have well researched this, all right? How'd I get here? There's two kinds of people, people talk about it and people do it. For me, I was always doing it. And I wanted these ideas that we had, which I thought were legitimate, Carlos Santana and Al Di Meola and Howard Leese at that time playing your guitars, it's a big deal. And I thought that it deserved a shot, it deserved a chance. And so I would tell people what my idea was. And I remember telling Walter Cronkite, of all people, he was in my shop. I was trying to get him to invest. And he goes, I don't know, I just sold a guitar company. And I looked at him and I realized that he was on the CBS board and he had just sold Fender. And I was like, well, I guess I can't ask him again. He really did have a guitar company, There's Walter Cronkite in front of me. And I don't think so. I just sold one. But I went out and convinced people of what the idea and the vision of it was. And
which was what? What was the vision?
I wanted to have a guitar company, and we wanted to go into competition with all the other companies. And the deal was actually pretty cool. I only got 5% of the company until we gave them all their money back. And there was something called a flip-flop where I would be able to have more of the company. But it wasn't until they got their money back. And I think I was pretty determined and I was pretty clear about what I wanted to do. But it was all not just my determination, everybody around us. In a way, it's the American dream. Some kid in some bedroom comes up with some idea and everybody jumps on and says, we can make nothing into something, let's go. And if you interview the people who've been here, since the beginning, they'll all tell you that's what they did. That's what Jack Higginbotham talks about all the time. He talks about, he went home and told his wife, I think this guy's got a chance. I want to join the team and see if it's worth a try.
But you have this.
So how did you get started? No, wait a minute. This is going to be a two-way conversation. You didn't just get to drill me. That's not the way it works. How'd you get started?
On what?
Doing what you're doing right now, interviewing famous people to find out how the hell they got in the chair they're in. How did you get here? This is my
favorite thing in the world.
Okay, but I'm asking you the same question. Where did the idea come from?
I've wanted to do this my whole life, but I'm a musician. I've wanted to play guitar my whole life,
I saw you play guitar. You're a good guitar player.
That's a powerful endorsement. I'm going to put that on my one sheet. Paul Reed Smith.
You're
a good guitar player.
Come on, he's a good guitar player, isn't he? I'm sorry, I can tell. I've been around a few of them.
I've wanted to do this forever, my whole life.
Yeah, but where'd you get your start? Wanting to do it and doing it?
I started on college radio when I was in college.
Yeah, there you go.
Started on the college radio station.
Yeah.
I would interview local venue owners and restaurant owners, and a lot of artists would come through. And then I started on my own.
So you got an honest start, and then it progressed.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a good answer. I like that. In a way, same thing. I went and got people to play the guitars in our area, and then I started to get national acts to play them.
But you have, in this case over here, you have like one of your first guitars.
Yeah. It's like, it looks like another company's guitar, because in the beginning, you don't make your own guitar, you do a cover song. You don't write your own hit record first. You do Proud Mary, right?
But so you would look at the other company's guitar, and then there's a slab of wood sitting in front of you?
Oh, no, I went and bought a piece that was the right size to make the guitar I wanted to make.
And how did you have a sense of how to cut it up and shape it?
I put the other guitar on top of it and drew around it and cut it out with a bandsaw.
So this was easy?
Nothing was easy.
But you make it seem kind of easy. So you would...
Well, for me, it was kind of easy.
Yeah.
For me, look, my son is a math teacher, and he's a math tutor. And he says, Daddy, there are three kinds of math. Numeric, 1 + 1 = 2. Algebraic, solve for X. And geometric. And he said, you carry the third one, Daddy. And I was like, well, that's true. I can take a neck blank and rotate it around on my head like a video game. I mean, I can see it graphically. Algebra in my house was a screaming fight. I don't understand.
Because your dad was a math teacher,
yeah,
right?
But for them, it was algebra.
Yeah.
For me, it was, I'm sorry, trigonometry and geometry and all that. I could ace the tests and not study. Algebra failed. Awful. Bad yams, stinky potatoes. It wasn't good. Literally screaming fights in my house. It's so easy. I'm like, leaving the kitchen table in tears, like out of my mind. It made no sense to me. But I'm sorry, I can't do calculus, but calculus is all vectors and angles. That I can do in my head.
But when you made this deal with your college professor, you said, I'm going to build this guitar for college credit.
That happened.
And he goes, okay, deal. Did you go, oh, crap, how am I going to do that?
No, I already knew exactly.
You felt, I'm going to get away with murder on this. This is going to be easy.
I didn't say that either. I didn't know what the grade was going to be, but I knew I was hell-bent determined to do it. My girlfriend left me in the middle of it. I built the second half of it in tears.
Is that what made it what it was?
No, it was just a lot of pain.
Just a lot of pain.
Yeah. So, I didn't have a thing to make the neck level, so I borrowed a huge mirror, which was a flat piece of glass, and I used that to level things. I mean, I cut it out with my teeth and, X-Acto knives. I didn't have anything real. I didn't have real CNC machines. That didn't exist.
Did you have any resource at all, or it was literally just looking at the other guitar?
I had teachers. I would go ask the head violin maker at Weaver's Violin, Joe Wallow, or I would ask my shop teacher, or I'd ask this person. I was always draining people from information. When they start repeating yourself, you got it all. I always, if you want to learn how to fish a river, you can spend 10, 15 years doing it. Or you can find the old man's been doing it his whole life, and he can leapfrog you 10 years forward in 2 days, just like that. I started with the people that were already doing it, and I talked to them. I had teachers. I had teachers for business, teachers for machining, teachers for woodworking. I had lots of teachers.
What's the trick to being a great mentee?
Not mentor, but you mean the person
Mentee.
that's the person learning?
Yes. Because you have to motivate, you have to go to these incredible people like Ted McCarty, and you have to find a way to motivate them to help you, right? And to make it feel really genuine.
Great teachers are interesting. It's done one-on-one. They throw a piece of meat over the fence, and if you don't attack it, they don't throw any meat over the fence anymore. I have one of those now. And if I don't do what he said, it's over. He goes, did you ever, try Belden 3175 wire? It's like, oh, no, he wants me to rewire my whole studio. I'm calculating how much it's going to cost me in time and money to do it in my head. But if I don't do it, that's it. It's over. So I did it. And then he throws another, piece of meat over the fence to see if you're interested. How many movies have been done where some young whippersnapper knocks on the door of the old man? The old man's a curmudgeon in the thing. What do you want? Well, I'd like to learn. Yeah, I'm gonna kill you. It's how many movies have been done that way? But that's the way it's done. So, what's the secret to being a good student? Find a real expert and do what he says. So, the definition of an expert is somebody in a very complicated area that solves very complicated problems over and over again. That's an expert. And I would find these brilliant or genius experts, and I'd tackle them. Help me, teach me. Nobody over 50 wants to die with skills. They want to teach somebody. And if somebody's standing there going, I want to learn,
But you had to be really pushed to call Ted McCarty, right?
No, I wanted to call him really badly. I was frightened.
You were frightened to do it.
I was frightened, and Clay Evans kept saying, call him. And I said, I can't do that. He said, call him. I can't. So I called him, and he picked up the phone.
And he said, I'm not going to come out to you, but you can come to me.
Well, that's kind of what happened. Where are you getting your stories from?
I've got the best research
I know.
team.
Somebody is inside trading on me. He said, I can't come because early on I had a dislocated retina, and I was early on in the laser thing, and they perforated my retina, and I can't see, so I don't want to fly. So I went and saw him. At the end of the first day, he got really angry. I said, what's wrong? What's wrong, Ted? He goes, nobody's ever asked me these questions. All they wanted to do was find out how they could get rich quick. Did I have a Les Paul in my basement? Was there a flying V in my basement? Did I have an Explorer in the basement? Nobody wanted to know how I glued the frets in. Nobody wanted to know how I dried the tops. You're asking me all the guitar making questions. He goes, that's how I made my living, and nobody's asked me. He was resentful that nobody at Gibson had called him up to find out how they did it. And here was me asking questions, and I wanted to know everything. He let me come out to Maui with him, and I interviewed him all day long, and when I started repeating himself, I had it.